To Legal Aid's 33rd Annual Servant of Justice Awards Dinner. We are here to honor several extraordinary individuals who have worked tirelessly to ensure that all people have equal and meaningful access to justice. Most importantly, we're here to support Legal Aid, their clients, and their mission to make justice real for DC residents. Together, we have raised a record-breaking, there we go, $1.7 million for Legal Aid, which is truly amazing. Congratulations. Thank you to my fellow co-chairs and Legal Aid's board members for their tireless efforts. And thank you to the sponsors and supporters who have made this year's dinner such a rousing success. Special thanks in particular to our two trailblazers of justice, Latham and Kirkland, who each contributed more than $200,000. All of our sponsors are listed in your program books. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Lisa Klepper, who will present the Klepper Prize for Volunteer Excellence.
Thank you, Dana. My father, Marty, who served as president of Legal Aid's board, and my stepmother, Arlene, created the Klepper Prize to recognize attorneys who have made significant volunteer contributions early in their career. I am pleased to bestow this year's award on Josephine Bahn of Cozen, O'Connor.
The civil justice system is difficult to navigate, and I think it would be shocking to many people, even to some attorneys who may have a broader national practice, to realize how many people come before our courts every day in important matters on the civil side without counsel or representation.
Unfortunately, there is no way that Legal Aid can help every single person that comes through our doors. Every year, there are thousands of intakes that we conduct. And every year, there's a gap between the people who need an attorney and who can't afford one, and those that we can take on as clients. And what our pro bono program tries to do is chip away at that gap.
Pro bono is important because it's our service as lawyers. I became a lawyer because I read To Kill a Mockingbird in my 10th grade English class. I saw Atticus Finch as a helper, and I wanted to be a helper, and so I decided to become a lawyer.
What sets Jo apart is she sets the time apart to really contribute a large part of her life to pro bono, and it is just part of who she is and what she does.
Criminal record sealing in particular is this idea that folks get arrested, charged, convicted of crimes, sometimes get arrested and dismissed, but sometimes get arrested and convicted and serve a sentence. In this country and in the district, those records follow people around.
Last summer, I took on a project for a special educator in DC who committed an offense when she was 19 years old and is now in her mid-30s and is looking to get her record expunged so that she can get a job with the city school system.
And so what criminal record sealing strives to do is to help people seal these records so they're not available to the public, so that when they go and apply for jobs, so that when they go and apply for housing, they're not popping up and limiting their opportunities in the future.
My client was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she's now being punished for it continuously 20 years later.
It is not automatic in DC. You may have records that are eligible to be sealed, and yet unless you affirmatively file a motion to have those records sealed, it's not going to happen.
It's a pretty impossible process to do without a lawyer.
She won't be able to be employed by the city with the record that she has as it stands now, so we were able to file a motion on her behalf that's pending in DC Superior, and our hope is that it will be accepted and expunged, and that she'll be able to start teaching as a special educator in the fall.
Jo brings heart to every case that she is involved in, and she does it because she cares sincerely, and more important than that, that she befriends and undertakes her clients and represents them in a way that is not just professional, but is heartfelt.
I think in her pro bono practice, Jo is always willing to take on a new challenge. She's willing to roll up her sleeves and jump into our training materials and take on a brand new matter that she's never handled before, and she does it with grace. I think Jo acutely understands the need for more attorneys to engage in pro bono, and she leads by example.
And it's not just what you gain by doing something for someone else. I think the lawyer who does pro bono service gains a lot.
It's the first time I was ever in court. My first trial was for pro bono work. It is important that you're giving back to the community that you have, but the benefits that you get are so much more than what you could ever give a client.
We absolutely need more attorneys to take on pro bono cases. With all of the resources that we have at Legal Aid, we simply cannot do it alone. The more pro bono attorneys that we can get engaged, the more we can chip away at that gap between those who are coming to us who need help and can't afford it, and those who are going to actually get representation or advice from us.
Where is Jo? Congratulations. Thank you for your dedication to your clients. You really are an inspiration.
I'm a little speechless that Steve Seeger said something nice about me, so you'll forgive me. But I'm incredibly grateful to Legal Aid for this honor and to the Klepper family for even considering me worthy of this award. And to my colleagues at Cozen O'Connor who are joining me tonight and who couldn't be here, I'm just grateful to have landed at a firm that cares so wholly about supporting me in all the things that I do, not just in the hours that I can spend earning for the firm. Tonight is great because we're all so passionate in this room about the work that we're doing and the pro bono that we'll do. But I encourage you to grab someone from your office or at your firm and get them off the bench and working with us and rolling up our sleeves and doing some pro bono work. Thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the night.
Congratulations, Jo, and thank you so much for your service. I'm Joan McKown, and I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of Legal Aid. And my term as president of Legal Aid's board ends in June, and while it has not been the simplest time, it has certainly been a wonderful opportunity for me, and it's a true privilege to have served in this role. I am so impressed daily with the work of the staff of Legal Aid and their dedication to everything they do, the staff and the leadership of Legal Aid. You all are amazing, and we all owe you a lot, and thank you so much for that. I am also so grateful that we have this opportunity to honor David Danzig tonight. My one regret last year was I didn't say thank you to David for all he did, so this is a great way to amend that. I saw up close how unbelievably dedicated David is to the work of Legal Aid, especially over the last 3 years. Honestly, David, I don't know how you did it. You have an incredibly active practice, and you are a present son, husband, and father, and yet you still gave so much to Legal Aid. So thank you for that, and congratulations on your honor tonight. I know that Legal Aid has a bright future and is in good hands for 2 reasons. One is because of how this organization came together during the pandemic. If we could get through that, we can get through anything. And so I know that that is a great reason to have bright hopes for the future. And secondly, because of the person I'm here to introduce tonight. Vikram Swaruup joined Legal Aid as Executive Director earlier this year after serving as Chief Deputy Attorney General in the district. It was obvious during the search committee's search that he stood apart from the other candidates. And it was during that process that we saw Vikram's rare combination of passion for the clients of legal aid, deep knowledge of legal issues that our client community faces every single day, and the management experience to lead our staff of 90 attorneys and professionals. So I can't wait for you to hear from him. So please join me in welcoming Vikram.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I see so many friends, colleagues, and mentors here, and I'm tempted to just thank each of you individually. But I've watched enough award shows to know that they start playing music if you go down that road. I do need to start with just a couple of thank yous, though. To Joan, this role was far more than what you signed up for, and we're all so grateful for your deep dedication and strong leadership over the last 2 years. Thank you. To Nadira Clark, who chaired a thorough executive director search process. If anyone is unhappy with the quality of my remarks tonight, you can take it up with Nadira. To my incredible legal aid colleagues who work around the clock in difficult circumstances to make justice real for our clients. Please stand so we can acknowledge all of your amazing work. But most of all, to you, for being here to support Legal Aid. Legal Aid isn't just an organization. It's a promise. It's a commitment from a city's legal community, from the people in this room, that when we say equal justice under the law, we mean it. That regardless of whether you can pay, if you're facing eviction or foreclosure, if you need basic government assistance or a civil protection order, you don't have to do it alone, because you too deserve an advocate by your side. It's not an easy promise to keep, nor is it one we can always fulfill. But by being here tonight, you're moving us one step closer to meeting that promise. And this is an incredibly important year for you to be here. Despite rising client need, the mayor has proposed a 60% budget cut to legal services in the District of Columbia. What that could mean for legal aid is a potential 25% cut to our services. 25%. You could say it's been an interesting first month on this job. And the proposed cut is not because there's a reduction in need. For our client community, rent and food costs have gone up by nearly 10%. The COVID-related eviction, foreclosure, and debt collection moratoria have recently ended. New clients in need of help with evictions, food stamps, and debt collections have doubled compared to a year ago. Doubled. At a time of rising need, the district's most vulnerable residents cannot afford a 60% cut to legal services. And if we're serious about keeping our promise to our neighbors of equal justice, we can't afford it either. But I have hope. I have hope because I believe in this community. I believe in the legal aid staff, and I believe in our clients. I believe that together we can rise up to meet this moment. Because when we face big challenges, I think of the extraordinary work of so many people in this room, to build this organization into what it is today. I also can't help but think of the person who prepared me for a battle like this, my mother. When I was a year old, my parents arrived in America, hoping to build a better future for my brother and me. At night, the four of us shared a single bedroom in our extended family's home. And during the day, my parents worked hourly jobs, my mom taking public transportation through bitter Chicago winters, before sunrise and after sunset, far too often with a sick kid in tow to sleep under her desk while she worked. She worked every day to build a better future for her family, but for years it remained out of reach. After half a decade of struggling to make it in this country, unable to afford to raise her kids in a safe neighborhood with decent schools, she took her kids and returned to India. When someone makes it in America, we talk a lot about how hard they worked, and that's good. We should talk a whole lot more about how hard people work to barely get by in America. We were lucky, though. After returning to India, my mom saved enough money for us to return to Texas in 2000. But the future my parents imagined didn't come easy. I came of age as South Asian immigrants faced harassment and violence in the wake of 9/11. And I came out amid a national conversation about whether discrimination against LGBTQ people should be enshrined in our Constitution. I always knew that the promise of equal justice would take work. But this isn't just a story about the challenges we faced. This is also a story about the extraordinary capacity of people struggling every day to get by in this country. After all, a mere 3 decades from those cold Chicago winters, thanks to my mother's work, I'm standing here today. So much is made possible in this country because of people like my mother and people like Legal Aid's clients, whose bravery and tenacity keep them going in the face of seemingly impossible odds. We're here tonight because sometimes, along the way, those people need a lawyer. And a lot can happen when a brave person facing long odds meets a lawyer. When a new American family navigating a complicated bureaucracy meets an immigration lawyer. When, in 2003, a gay interracial couple in Texas meets 2013 Servant of Justice Award winner Paul Smith, and together they go to the Supreme Court to end the criminalization of our very existence, and along the way, inspire this gay Texas high schooler to go to law school. When a tenant who never fell behind on her rent, facing a default eviction judgment that she never even knew existed, meets a legal aid lawyer, and together they get that case dismissed. When an immigrant facing domestic violence meets a legal aid lawyer, and together they get a civil protection order that keeps her safe and also forge a pathway to citizenship. When a mom who lost her kid to a system that blames her for an act of violence that she herself was the victim of meets a legal aid lawyer, and together they clear her name and reunite her family. When, in the mid-1990s, a mom of 4 who's fallen on tough times and facing eviction meets a legal aid lawyer, and together they save her family's home. That mom is Bernadine Francis, and she's here tonight. Decades later, she's still in that home where she raised her 4 children, one of whom is now a lawyer at the Neighborhood Legal Services Project. This year, Bernadine came back to Legal Aid, this time as a volunteer, and we're thrilled to honor her. Bernadine, can you please stand up? We're going to need your help to keep our promise to families like Bernadine's this year. So much of what we do is only possible because of the time and resources you all pour into legal aid. Legal aid's lawyers and staff are used to doing a lot with little, but there is no way to cut our budget by 25% without hurting our clients. We're going to fight to reverse that proposed budget cut, and I hope you'll join us in making sure that the council hears that this is a priority for DC's legal community. And even if city funding holds, we face rising need. And we have an opportunity to imagine a future where no district resident faces life-changing legal challenges without a lawyer by their side. This year, I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll join us to meet this moment. I hope you'll join us to keep our promise to a mom still taking the bus before sunrise and after sunset with a sick kid in tow. Thank you. All right, now we get back to awards, the reason we're all here. The next award is the Partnership Award, which really is all about when brave people facing long odds meet a lawyer and what happens. The Partnership Award recognizes people and organizations that have improved access to justice in the district. This year, we're thrilled to honor the Asian Pacific Islander Domestic Violence Resource Project and our extraordinary mutual client, who is a shining example of the resilience and courage in the face of adversity, Farhana Chowdhury.
আমার নাম হচ্ছে ফারহানা চৌধুরী এবং আমি আমেরিকাতে এসেছি 2019 সালে.
Farhana came from Bangladesh after she married her husband. Her husband lived here, so she came from Bangladesh to the United States to join him.
সে আমার সাথে অনেক রুট ছিল বরাবরই. আমি ভেবেছি আমেরিকা আসার পরে সে হয়তো আমার সাথে ভালো থাকবে, বাট আমেরিকা আসার পরে সে আমাকে মারধর, আমার সাথে অনেক খারাপ ব্যবহার, সব কিছু সে আমার সাথে করেছে. আমার সব স্বপ্ন সে আমার ভেঙে দিয়েছে. আমার ইচ্ছা ছিল আমি একটা বাচ্চা নিব, বাট সে আমাকে এত বাজেভাবে অ্যাবিউজ করেছে সব কিছু দিক থেকে, মেন্টালি, ফিজিক্যালি, ফাইন্যান্সিয়ালি, সব দিক থেকে. তো আমি পুরোপুরিভাবেই মানে ভেঙে গিয়েছিলাম.
She was even more isolated than a survivor who lived and grew up here. She truly had no one but this man who was abusing her in the worst possible ways. Ms. Chowdhury was really trapped in her domestic violence situation. Her husband became abusive to her. She came from a place where people don't help victims of domestic violence. Were she to get deported, she would be in a place where she would be treated as a total second-class citizen.
20 তারিখে আমি মার্চের 2019 সালে গিয়েছিলাম ডাক্তারের কাছে, ম্যারি সেন্টারে, মানে সোশ্যাল ওয়ার্কারের সাথে. ওরা আমাকে একটা শেল্টারের ব্যবস্থা করে. তারপরে আমার সাথে পরিচয় হয় ডিবিআরপি.
The Asian Pacific Islander Domestic Violence Resource Project is not a project, it's an organization that's been around since 1996. Our role is to provide support to survivors who are from the Asian Pacific Islander communities in the DC, Maryland, Virginia areas.
We provide direct services to survivors of gender-based violence that includes domestic violence, sexual assault, and other forms of violence.
Organizations like DVRP are really critical to helping immigrant survivors of domestic violence because immigrant survivors don't know what their rights are, they don't know where to get help. There are language barriers, there are cultural barriers.
What makes DVRP a bit different from other agencies is that there's no time frame. We work with our clients from 3 months up to 10 years. So it's just depending on the needs.
They accompanied her to court. They helped her when she needed to transition shelters. A caseworker took their car and went to the shelter and helped her move her belongings from one shelter to another.
We also helped her get into housing programs that she was able to stay there for 2 years, and it was 30% of her income. That was something to help her to build and budget herself so she's able to find something more permanent later in the future.
ডিবিআরপির মাধ্যমে আমি জানতে পাই লিগ্যাল এইড। তারা আমাকে সাহায্য করে আমার প্রোটেকশন অর্ডারের ব্যাপারে, কারণ আমি হাজব্যান্ডকে নিয়ে অনেক ভয়ে ছিলাম, সে যদি আমাকে পায় কি হবে।
After hours of back and forth in the courthouse hallway, we were able to negotiate with her husband to agree to the civil protection order, to stay away from her, to not commit further crimes against her, and incredibly, to pay her temporary alimony.
একটা সময় অনেক ভয় পেতাম আমি যদি দেশে ফেরত যাই, কারণ আমার ভিসাটা ছিল হচ্ছে টেম্পোরারি ভিসা।
We were then able to help her with her immigration status so that she could remain in this country, not be scared of getting deported, have work authorization. And I'm really happy to say that she's now a US citizen, which is thrilling.
আমি সেপারেশনের পরবর্তীতে আমি একটা কোর্সে ভর্তি হই, সফটওয়্যার ডেভেলপমেন্ট। তো আমার ভবিষ্যতের গোল হচ্ছে আমি বাংলাদেশে যেরকম একটা ভালো কোম্পানিতে চাকরি করতাম, এখানেও একটা ভালো কোম্পানিতে চাকরি করে ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্টভাবে আমি নিজেকে নিজে একটা সাকসেসফুল ওমেন হিসেবে দাঁড়াতে চাইতেছি।
I wish for Hannah every good thing in life. She totally deserves it. She has gone through so much and is living her life with such joy and courage and positivity, and seeing what independence and safety offered her is just incredible.
All right, please join me in congratulating Farhana Chowdhury and representing DVRP, Krittika Ghosh and Kaylee Nguyen. Please come on up. And I would also like to welcome the legal aid lawyers who worked with Farhana to come on up as well. And Ami as well, former works, come on up.
So there's something written here already for me, but I am going to read a little something that I put together, which is similar. But thank you so much for this award for both DVRP and for Farhana. And Farhana is going to thank you too. I'm not talking on behalf of her. DVRP's work is survivor-driven and led, and through your support, we hope to ensure that we continue supporting survivors through case management and making systemic change through community outreach and education. We're celebrating our 28th year this year, and just like legal aid, we are also facing the impact of budget cuts as well. But no, I'm not asking you to donate money to us unless you want to. I just want to say that Farhana is one of the bravest and most inspiring people that I've ever met. I remember the first time she came into our office, and she was going through so much, so clearly she was in a lot of trauma. But over the years, we have worked together. We also share a personal bond coming from the same part of the world and sharing the same language. And I've learned so much from her. She's not just, went services through DVRP, but she sat through a foundation's grant process where she allocated funds to other organizations doing work like us. So she's giving back to the community. We have a saying at DVRP, and the saying was created by Kaylee, who was our program director there, that our clients are the bus drivers and we're just the passengers riding along with them to provide support. It is a privilege to do this work and to witness how so many organizations and people have come together on a daily basis to help survivors like Farhana. And, we also acknowledge that, survivorhood is not just out there, it's also in our organization. So many of us are doing this work also identify as survivors. And, to have that support from the community is so crucial. For Farhana, I am so proud of you, and I can't wait to see what's next for you. Onek onek bhalobasha. Farhana's going to come and say a few words, and I'm going to translate for her.
প্রথমে আমি সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ যে আমার স্টোরিটা সবাই শুনেছেন আমি অনেক গ্রেটফুল আমার স্টোরি শুনেছেন
She's thanking you for listening to her story. She's grateful for you to listen to her story.
আমি ভাবি নাই কখনো আমাকে কেউ সাহায্য করবে
She's saying, I did not think that anyone would ever help me.
আমি ভেবেছিলাম আমি একাই এখানে
She thought that she would always be on her own here.
আমি থ্যাংক ইউ জানাই
She's thanking us.
Krittika, Kelly, Aisha, DBRP, and to all my lawyers at Legal Aid, Ami, June, Sarah, Marydale, Caroline, and Madison, Rob, and thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes the first half of our program. Our Servant of Justice Awards will be presented after the dinner break. So everybody enjoy your dinner, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks, everyone.